This is the round ahead, thanks to Coles, Nat Edwards, Josh Gabelich and Chad Wingard with you. And gents, nearly 3 rounds into the season already, Josh, some big storylines brewing.
Massive storylines, Nat, when you think about what happened last week. And I can't wait to see what happens this weekend, Chad. I know you're 3 in zip and you're up and about, but huge games to come.
Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, yeah, Hawthorn. Well, what more can I say?
Okay, let's move on, though, and take a look at what is to come ahead in round 3. Friday night lights for the winless Blues, while on Saturday night you're going to need 2 screens, everyone, for 2 blockbuster matchups. Just the 2 games, though, on Sunday. Can the Roos cause another upset? And a must-win derby for Justin Longmuir and Freo. So many intriguing storylines coming your way. But let's start, of course, with Thursday night footy. Thanks to Coles, it has been a huge week for the Essendon Football Club. The blowtorch has well and truly been on them, and they face off against a Port Adelaide side that they haven't beaten in their last 8 encounters. And Chad, when we look at the Bombers, the one shining light has been their skipper, Zach Merritt. He is leading the charge, leading the way, but he has nobody that is stepping up and following him.
I know, it's like a one-man band at the moment. He's absolutely dominating and you feel for him. I mean, I think the players like, the Ben Mackay's, the Dylan Shields, the Mason Redmond, the guys who are very capable, they're in a leadership group. They're the guys that really need to step up. But yeah, you can't, I suppose, appreciate how much Zach Merritt is doing, but he can't do it alone. You see how much it was 161 points against him, and there's only so much one guy can do.
Yeah, and then Josh, you look on the flip side as well, as we see one of Zach Merritt's 4 goals. He just can't continue on shouldering this load. But on the flip side, Zach Butters has been missing from this Port Adelaide side for last week and a couple more weeks to come. But they're sharing the load and others have stepped up to fill that void.
They certainly are, Nat, when you consider how good Connor Rozee has been across the first 2 games. Ollie Wines has really stepped up. But the one for me, Chad, is Travis Boak. This guy is one of the oldest players in the game. On the weekend, he went past the great Russell Liebert on 393 official games for Port Adelaide. I thought he was cooked in 2023. He spent a long time contemplating whether he was going to go around again last year. Last year had a great impact, but he's had 28 disposals in each of the first 2 rounds, and all of a sudden, I think we need to start thinking about him becoming the next player to play 400. Now, he needs to go on to next year to do that, but he's up to 373 games and playing some seriously good footy right now.
And I think what helps him is that he's so professional. So when I was at the club, he was the leader, obviously he was the captain when I was there, but everything he did was so diligent in his recovery, in his approach to the game, and he's so well loved around the group. So if he is performing at that high level and he wants to go on, I can't see a reason why he can't.
Right, Josh, you're going to get up and get ready for your player portrait. While he's doing that, Chad, I can't get a read on Port Adelaide so far. They get smashed in round 1 by the Pies. They smash the Tigers the next week. I mean, this is a pretty crucial game for them. How do you think they're going to go?
Yeah, I think it's a crucial game. I think if they want to play finals, this is a game they must win.
All right, Josh, let's get back onto Essendon. I did say that Zach Merritt was the only shining light, but that maybe was a slight lie, because the man that you're going to feature in your player portraits this week, well, he had a fantastic debut.
Well, Nat, there weren't too many positives for Essendon on the weekend, but there was one big positive in the form of a 24-year-old who was teaching at Les Moody High School in Perth only last month. I want to talk to you about Tom Edwards, because this guy lived every kid's dream on the weekend. He grew up supporting Essendon, he made his debut on the MCG, and he kicked 3 goals on debut. Quite incredible stuff. Now, when it comes to Essendon, they actually didn't approach him until December last year. They didn't even offer him a trial during the SSP until the middle of January. And the school only gave him 2 weeks off work to make the most of that trial. And he certainly did, kicking 4 goals in a practice match at the Whitten Oval in a half against the Western Bulldogs, although he still had to go back to Perth and go back to school. And 3 days later, Matt Rosa, the list manager at Essendon, picked up the phone and called him during recess to offer him a rookie contract. And it was last Wednesday when Tom Edwards received another call. This time it was from the senior coach, Brad Scott, who was on the way home from the hangar, and he called Tom Edwards to say, hey, you're going to make your debut this weekend. Now, mature age recruits have so many different stories, and when it comes to Tom Edwards, this is a guy that moved 400 kilometres north from Albany to Perth at the age of 18 to study teaching. And at that point in his life, he wasn't even certain he was going to play footy. He played footy that year for Curtin University in the Amos, and it was there where he was spotted by Swan Districts. And across the last 2 years, he became one of the best forwards in the waffle. Now, Tom Edwards is in the AFL, And as for Lesmurdie High School, they're still searching for a sports science and a maths teacher. And I can tell you what, they need to keep searching because Mr. Edwards isn't coming back to school anytime soon.
I love that. Good morning, Mr. Edwards. Can you imagine all the kids? That is brilliant. Thank you, Josh. And of course, you can check out that story on afl.com.au and the AFL Live app. But we're turning our attention to Friday Night Lights right now. And all eyes will be on the winless Blues as they take on the Western Bulldogs at Marvel Stadium. Now, they are staring down the barrel right now of being 0-4. We look at their next 5 games. It could be 0-5, Chad, against Collingwood. I don't know if there's something wrong with me, but I still think that this list has enough talent on it to turn this form around. Should they be 0-4, maybe 0-5? But I know you don't agree with me.
Yes, now I don't agree. I think if you take out Cripps from Carlton, I just don't think they have the depth. But not just the depth, I don't think they have the system that players can just come in and plug that hole. You look at Western Bulldogs, some of the players that they have out, Treloar, the Bont, you know, Jones is coming back, but they had some significant people out of their lineups. And the ability for them to win a game, but also compete in the next week, it shows that their system is, I suppose, very predictable, but also they're not solely reliant on that one person. So I can't imagine what Carlton would look like without Cripps.
So the Dogs, and you mentioned them there, I mean, they have surprised a lot of people in terms of how well they've adapted, Josh, to those key players being out with injuries. But Liam Jones is a crucial cog in that back line and he comes in.
He's poised to return. He's training as we speak this morning, Nat. So a huge inclusion for them. I was on the pre-season camp in Noosa in February when he went down at the end of the intra-club and it was a disaster. A 10-week injury, so he is ahead of schedule. And when you consider they're set to face not just Charlie Curnow but Harry Mackay in the same forward line for the first time, he's going to be a massive inclusion, Liam Jones. They might also get James O'Donnell back, but they are still missing so many key players. But Liam Jones is almost as important as anyone.
Yeah, it's a huge clash. Now, we can't talk about the Western Bulldogs, if I can get that out, without talking about the man of the moment, and that is Sam Darcy. What an incredible start to season 2025 he is having right this moment. And you two, it got us thinking on the round ahead just about the next generation of young forwards that are leading the charge, and you two are going to dissect it for us.
Well, Nat, the next wave aren't coming. They have arrived, Chad, and we saw that last Friday night at the MCG with Sam Darcy. What this guy is doing at 208 centimetres is something we haven't seen before. He's only 21, and it's got me thinking, he's not the only under-23 key forward in the comp right now that's got Coleman medal written all over him. But let's start with the unicorn, because he was incredible last week, and he's starting to rise as the most unstoppable force in the game.
It was Sam Darcy. What worries me, if you're opposition, is he's 208 centimetres, that when he jumps, he's almost touching the bar spring if he's standing tall. He's unbelievable. What I suppose excites me the most is his upside. I think he hasn't quite filled out to what I think he can be, and also he's shooting at 51% at goal. So if he increases that closer to 60%, I think he could be a real Coleman contender.
38 goals last year for Sam Darcy, so he's laid the foundations for 50 plus in 2025. Let's talk about Riley Thilthorpe, because this is a guy that missed the first 4 months of last year due to knee surgery, and when he returned as a Fraser Garrick clone. I can't believe he's only 22, but he's one of the biggest beats in the game right now.
Thilthorpe is one of my favourite stories. I mean, I hate when you see players get injured, but when he came back, it's like he was in a time capsule. He came back, full-grown beard, looked like he put on 5 kilos. And what I love about him is that he's very accurate in front of goal. He's 58%, and he looks like he's just a cult hero at Adelaide, and I just love the way he goes about his work.
Now, unlike the other two, Josh Tracy wasn't taken at pick 2. In fact, he wasn't even taken in the national draft. He had to wait until the rookie draft, and he's risen from the rookie list to be a legitimate star forward in this game. 45 goals last year. The big kahuna is a big game player. We're starting to see that, and he's someone that makes the most of his chances in front of goal.
Yeah, exactly right. He actually reminds me of another player that I played alongside. It was Jay Schultz, a real sharpshooter that he actually shot 71% last year. So it just shows that when he gets
most in the comp.
Yes, most in the comp. So when he gets the ball inside forward 50, you can almost pencil it down for a goal. So he's unbelievable in terms of when he gets the ball inside forward 50.
Now, Nat, I'm sure if you're Sam Power or you're Justin Reid or you're David Walls, you're thrilled with the list management decision you made in recent years. But if you had to pick just one of these players for the next decade, who are you picking?
Oh, it's a tough one because I really love Riley Thilthorpe. I just love the way that he goes about and attacks the contest, and he's got such a good goal-kicking technique. But I think I'm going to have to pick Sam Darcy. I just think he could be absolutely anything at this point. Now, moving on to Saturday, and there is a match at the MCG I am really intrigued by, and it's because of the midfield battle. So on the one hand, we have the experienced season Ds like Clayton Oliver, Christian Petrarca and a Jack Viney, and then on the flip side, we have the young rising sons in Noah Anderson, Matt Rowell, throwing a bit of experience in Tuke Miller in there. So this is what intrigues me, and I want to ask you both a question. Which midfield would you rather? Chad, I'll start with you.
If you're picking a midfield out of those two teams, I think despite Melbourne and their flaws going up forward, their midfield is solid and they're getting the job done. I can't go past their experience, but also the fact that if you take them out of Melbourne and you put them in another team, you'll take that midfield any day of the week.
Josh?
I'm going to go the other side because I'm just talking about 2025. I'm talking about this very moment, and I just love what those three did in round one. We haven't seen them since then, only the one game across the first 3 rounds for the Gold Coast Suns, but there is so much focus on their away form when you consider what they went through in 2023 and 2024, 16 consecutive losses on the road. And it came down to these three in a way because the difference between their form at Carrara and away from Queensland was quite stark.
Yeah.
But they had a fast start in round one in Perth. They've now won their last 3 games on the road, but I feel like Saturday is a statement game waiting to be made.
Well, don't you feel like you need to see more of them? I mean, you talked about the inconsistencies in that, and I feel like we've seen more from Melbourne and they've been a little bit more reliable over time. I like where you're going with it. I mean, we talked about that form. Chad, you had the Gold Coast Suns making finals this year. We are only 3 games in. Josh has just said this is a must-win game. Do you agree in context of their season, they've got to win?
Yeah, when I said that they were going to win 8 out of their first 12, this is one that I had them penciled in. So this is a must-win for them. And it's a way I think they really need to win this game.
And the Suns are one of 3 clubs too to not have won a flag. So GWS and Freo are the other 2. If you both had to pick one, who's getting there first?
GWS. I think they're ready to fight for it this year.
I thought that might be the answer. And speaking of the Giants, if you do need a hook this weekend, then look no further because the Giants are taking on Hawthorn at their fortress in Launceston on Saturday night. Huge inclusions for the Giants. We've got Stringer, Hogan, Briggs all coming back into this side. And Chad, Stringer will make his official Giants debut. What do you think we can expect from the package in 2025?
Well, what I think we're going to expect from the package is much of the same. Like, he's a very explosive player. But what I'm really interested in looking at is how him, Green and Logan, I suppose, work together because most of the time they get a lot of, I suppose, looks inside. They're the most targeted players when they were on different teams. So it'd be interesting to see how much look they get and where they play. Does Toby Green go up higher? Does Jake Stringer connect to the stoppage more? I just wonder how they're going to utilise them to the best of their ability.
It's going to be a handful for Hawthorn's defenders, that's for sure. Josh, I mentioned the fortress that is UTAS Stadium. Hawthorn have such an incredible record down there, but the last 2 games these 2 sides have actually played, it's gone down to the wire and it's been less than a goal that's decided the outcome. Can you expect the same, do you think?
I hope so, because Saturday night game in Launceston, it's only the 2nd night game ever at this ground. And there've been 82 games in total. Hawthorn have won 62 at Launceston. So you're right, this is a fortress. That's 74%. Not only is it incredibly lucrative commercially for that club, it's lucrative in terms of wins. So I can't wait to see what happens, because you're right, last time they played at that venue, it was a contentious finish, the downfield free kick.
Don't even.
James Sicily into the Luke Bruce snap with a minute to play. It was incredible.
I'm too stressed. I can't handle close games. I hope it's an absolute blowout. But on Saturday night, Footy Tragics are going to have 2 screens because there are 2 cracking games on at the exact same time. The other game I'm speaking of is Brisbane and Geelong. And Chad, do you have any concerns about the Lions and their slow starts that we've seen in 2025?
Yeah, so we just look at the stats. So Brisbane were 22 points down against Sydney in the first quarter, and also they were 30 points down against West Coast in the first quarter, so that's worrying me. And they're actually, like Geelong are going to capitalise on that. So I think I suppose if you think about the glass half full, is that their ability to get back into games. They proved that in the finals last year, but it's not the best way to start the game.
It's a small sample size though, because last year they won 23 of 27 first quarters. They were number 1 in the comp for that. So it has been a slow start. Is it a pattern? We'll find out this weekend.
Is it an upset of the round brewing, Chad? I know after round one you didn't have the best record and the Roos did you dirty by upsetting, Melbourne at the weekend. So what do you think?
Yes, looking straight down the camera. Which one? This one right here. We've got the Cats as the upset by 2 goals.
She's going on a limb. This would be the big upset, wouldn't it?
Oh, well, I think it's an upset. Who would you pick?
I'd just say upset of the round would be North going to Adelaide. So
so you think he's been soft?
I think he's got a bit gun shy after.
Okay.
But
yeah,
there
a bit
are-
scarred from North Melbourne.
But there is also going to be anywhere between 8 to 60 mils of rain, which is a fairly
It's a wide range.
Might only be 2 goals scored.
Who's a better side in the wet?
That's a good call. I think, Brisbane or Gold Coast, the guys obviously play in the moisture a lot
Yeah.
are normally better, so now I'm almost thinking maybe I should.
Okay, don't talk yourself out of it. Don't listen to Joshua. He has no idea what he's talking about. But we do love digging into the archive here at the round ahead. And, of course, with the Western Derby, wherever you are, that's how you say it, happening on a Sunday evening, we thought we'd put together a top 5 Derby moments. So let's take a look. The first one coming in at number 5 is in 1999. This is when Fremantle actually got their first ever Derby win. And Tony Modra, not used to seeing him in the purple, but he kicked 6 goals. And they won their first ever Derby, which was fantastic. 2006, this is very controversial because Freo win by less than a goal. But that man, Chris Judd, had the game of his life and he actually won the medal for best on ground. He was booed, you can hear it there. And then wait for this.
Popular decision.
Definitely not a popular decision.
It just generates so much debate.
At number 3, how good is this mark from McFarlane? That's one of my favourites. That's unbelievable. The height, I'm a sucker for a high flyer. That's unbelievable. Mark of the year as well that year.
Yeah, incredible. Now, you can't go past number 2, Josh, because this is a pretty iconic moment when it comes to derbies.
I love Hayden Ballantyne. What a pest. I also just love Subiaco. It brings back such good memories from my childhood, but this is unforgettable.
A controversial free kick, might I add. 5 seconds on the clock and a deliberate out of bounds is paid. Now, Hayden Ballantyne thinks he's got it. Have you ever gone too early, Chad? The celebration.
Yeah, well, you almost need the MRO. What's going on here? Imagine if that back in the day. Maybe that's what they brought
We
it in.
needed a score review, but it was deemed to have been touched or touched the post, and Ballantyne heartbroken. This, though, in 2000, this derby, which has since been named the Demolition Derby, is really iconic when it comes to the physicality and the brutalism that we can see in our sport at times. 4 players suspended for a total of 15 matches.
Dale Kicker got 9.
He got 9 weeks.
9. And that's how I think of the Derby when I think back to my childhood.
But it really begs the question, and it got me thinking, which one is bigger, the Showdown rivalry or the Derby rivalry? Because looking at that and just this genuine hatred between these 2 clubs, I feel like it's the Western Derby that wins out.
Okay, here we go. We've gone to the stats. We've gone to the Bureau of Statistics to get some stats here. Here we go. So we're going to go SA versus W. Who loves footy more? Okay, so it's a very popular decision. I'm not going to be biased, I promise. So WA members, 165,000 members.
Yep.
They've got 2.1 million population and a greater, which equals 7.9% of their population are members of football. Now we go to SA. A lot of numbers. 141,000. That's how many memberships they've got between Adelaide and Port Adelaide. And their population of Adelaide's metropole is 1.38. So 10% compared to 8%. So there's more people who are members in South Australia for their clubs than it is in WA.
But are they rocking up at the venues? Are they turning up to games?
The next one, here we go.
Fine.
I've got the stats ready. I've got them.
Go.
Okay, the average attendance in WA at Optus Stadium last year was 76%. Adelaide Oval, 77. So does that show that more people are keen for footy in SA? They've also got gather round. I don't know, maybe I'm being biased, but I reckon Adelaide and SA is taking over WA as the second home for footy.
I don't know, Josh. What do you think?
He's pretty biased.
Yeah, I smell a lot of bias. When are those stats from anyway?
It was 2021. But that's the latest. That's the latest Bureau of Statistics stats I can find.
I see what's going on. But genuine hatred between both of these sides. Cannot wait for a Western Derby, which is must win, obviously, for Justin Longmuir and his Fremantle Dockers. And that is it for us for the round ahead this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you again next week. In the meantime, enjoy the footy.